Hello and welcome. Welcome to today's webinar hosted by Altis. I'm Phil. I'll be hosting the webinar today, and we'll be talking about the Altis Power BI template and how this can help you in your organization. We'll just quickly jump into the agenda, just so you've got an idea of what we're going to be covering. So we'll just do some quick intros, intro myself, intro a bit about Altis and how we can help you and what services we provide. We'll also then jump into the meat of the situation around what is a Power BI template, why you would want to use a Power BI template, and then we'll also have a demonstration around showing you an example report that we've created with the Power BI template that we offer, and then I'll actually take you into the kind of the back end of the Altis Power BI template in Power BI. And show you how that's built and how you can utilize that. Also mentioning there will be a Q&A section at the end of the presentation. But at any point, if you do have questions, there is at the bottom of your screen there, you should see the Q&A icon. If you click that, please feel free to ask the question as and when it pops up into your head, and we can move forward with that. And at the end, I'll just come and go through all of those questions. So that's fine. So a bit about me. So as mentioned, I'm Phil Stevens. I'm a managing consultant here at Altis. I've been with Altis now for about 5 years, but I've spent about the last 15 years, basically my entire career, working in data and analytics. Started off as a DBA, doing your indexing, making sure applications work well, organizing data. And as we moved more into reporting with data and getting insights out of data, I really saw a passion there and jumped into that and got involved with building reports. And it's kind of just developed from there, really done a whole heap of different roles in my career. But now I see myself doing things like this, hosting webinars and helping to train people and encouraging, the next generation of analysts to come through as well, dealing with the ever-changing analytics industry and helping out with, be it on the engineering side of things, getting data in, preparing that data, or if it's actually analyzing that data, opening up for the business, helping them out to gain insights. So that's a bit about me. Feel free to reach out. My email is there if you want to contact me at all, but that's a bit about me. And let's now talk a bit about Altis. So if you don't already know, so I know probably some of you out there have dealt with Altis before, but we are the largest privately owned data and analytics consultancy in Australia and New Zealand. And that's kind of our bread and butter, right? That's where we live, is doing data and analytics. We don't stray too far from that. That's our expertise, and that's where we live. And we've been doing that for over 25 years. We celebrated our 25th anniversary this year, which is very exciting. And we kind of bring a lot with those 25 years of experience, as I'm sure you will have seen if you've worked with Altis before. We have offices spread out across Australia in Sydney, Melbourne and Canberra. But we also have a presence in New Zealand where we offer consulting services, and we have our managed services team running out of New Zealand as well. And should also give some props to our UK team. We have a team based out of London. They've actually built quite a lot of what we see with our Altis Power BI template, and we've worked obviously with them quite a lot around this. So you'll see a bit of the fruit of that in this presentation, which is great. And we love our London family as well. We have it's actually closer to 170 plus staff now. We've done a lot of hiring lately, but we're growing as an organization, and so we have a lot of consultants working for us with great backgrounds, be it in more of, like I mentioned, the engineering data prep stage, or if we've got trainers as well as people that can do architectures and data visualization. So we kind of offer that broad range within our consultants. I'll also mention on the right here that we have partnerships with all the major players in this space, but we consider ourselves to be what we call vendor agnostic or independent. So we don't on-sell any of these platforms or technologies, but we do make sure we work with the broad range, it's up to often you, our clients, Usually you have the platform working or running, and we can work with that, whatever the platform is, or we can advise across the broad range of cloud services as well. Should you be looking to, I don't know, something like a Snowflake that you might be looking to move into, we can obviously help with that. We have the expertise. I know personally I've actually worked with all of these technologies on the screen, so our team does have a broad experience across that as well. A little bit more about Altis and how we work, what we do. On the left-hand side here, this diagram tries to describe everything we do in one diagram, which is always a bit risky, but I'll talk you through it as we go. So we do advisory. So this kind of stuff where we're talking to you about something we offer, or we can help you out with making big decisions about architectures or futures of modern data platforms or whatever it might be. But we also do the delivery as well. So we can partner with you to deliver whatever the solution might be it as small as just delivering Power BI reports and helping you up with that, or if it's something more structured, like what we're talking about, the Power BI templates, we can help to embed those in your organizations. And we can also help out with the managed services. So once something's been built, we actually have a managed services team that can assist you with the ongoing support and maintenance as well. Depending on the size of the organization, some teams can take on the BAU that comes with deliverables, and some actually prefer for us to manage that for them. And now just talking about how we operate. So we know data's everywhere. There's, like this list has, it has the big data, there's data in the cloud, there's IoT devices providing millions of rows every second. And we understand that at Altis, and so we try to build frameworks around that and how to ingest that data well, and to be efficient with that as well, and then converting that into information. So you have these visualizations, these dashboards as well, and encouraging the self-service within your organizations to have your customers as well leading the process in maybe building insights and seeing what they can get out of your organization's data. On top of that, we have analytics as well. So this is something we're doing a lot more actually within Altis at the moment, around that, like the AI ML space. Around now, we've worked with you to get a nice structured data source. We can actually place tools on top of that to assist you with getting, be it prescriptive or predictive, around your data. Now you've got some insights. What happens if we continue this way? What will happen in a year's time? Or if we make this decision, what will happen in a year's time from that? So we're working a lot in that space as well. But we're very focusing on the outcomes for the business, and that's kind of where we sit with Altis. And there's the obvious ones we deliver around automation, making sure your team is agile to the ever-changing industry and the changing format of data that's coming into your organization. Those are the obvious ones, but we also do a lot of work to assist with the profitability of organizations, and this keyword at the bottom there, empowerment, empowering your organization to understand that data can be an asset for you, and it can be something that allows you to make positive progress as an organization. Underneath all of that, of course, we have data security and data governance, very hot subject at the moment. We do loads of work in data governance areas with organizations, taking data, looking into their platforms and saying, well, who owns what data, who should have access to what level of data, where is the gold standard data in your organization, and helping to flag that and work with that as well. And then this next section under that, around frameworks, this is where what we're talking about today lives a bit, around the ability to provide a framework either to accelerate the progress of loading new data sources into your organization. We have a data load accelerator framework, which we've put into a large number of organizations actually, to assist them getting from source to data model as fast and as efficient as possible. It could be something like that, or it could be like we're talking today, a template for your Power BI reports to allow for faster development processes and more control over consistency and look and feel and things like that. And with all we work with at Altis, we have the ethos there of connecting with courage, heart, and insight. So what that means for us is that all of our consultants believe it is a relationship with you as our client, that we work together through the good and the bad and the hard times and the good times, but also to have the courage that maybe we're coming in to build a Power BI report for you, but we actually see an issue somewhere in the pipeline or in the process or with the data, and we actually have the courage to flag that with you as well, and know that, yeah, we might be, you know, on board to do this piece of work, but if we see something, we're happy to flag that and actually have the insight to let you know about that as well. And that's kind of what comes with an Altis consultant. So anyway, that's Altis in a bit of a nutshell there, and a bit more detail. And if you ever want to find out more, there'll be details at the end of the webinar how to get in contact with us. But that's just a quick overview there of Altis and what we do. So let's jump in and talk about this Power BI template that you're all here to see in the webinar. So what is a Power BI template? So I think a good way of defining what a Power BI template is, if you don't already know, it's a collection of objects that can be reused. So objects might include things like the report pages, as it says, the visuals. So you've got all your different pages that make up reports. You might have elements within those pages. You might have tool tips or drill through reports, or you might have, you've got all your visuals as well. So your graphs, your charts and tables, things like that. Those can actually all be encapsulated within a template for reuse, as well as the data model definition itself. So if you're an organization that has quite a well-built data model with your dimensions and your facts and things like that, the actual metadata behind that structure with your relationships and the schema and everything like that can actually be held within a template as well. So if, again, you want this speed of development to come in, well, you can actually store a lot of that within the back end of your template as well. I don't know if any of you out there are using things like query parameters, but those can actually be stored in there as well. Like if you have a parameter that where you only select the current year to load into the report or whatever that might be, those can also be held within your template. So when one of your developers opens up the template to create a new report, that kind of comes with it when they do that. And finally, there you've got the Power BI theme file, and we'll talk a bit about that throughout this demonstration today. But that is another key concept that comes with a Power BI template. It is important to note that the report itself, so when you load the Power BI file, which comes in the .pbit extension, which you might not have seen before, you're probably very aware of the .pbix extension, which is your report files. The .pbit is your template, so it's generally quite small in size because it doesn't include the data itself. So it might include all the metadata around schema and relationships and things like we mentioned, but it won't actually include the data. So when you open up your PBIT file, and we'll show you this in a minute, it will actually load up a blank PBIX to create. So it's basically saying, here's your template, and when you open it, it's going to open you up with a blank report that then you add your data to and save and publish, etc., etc. So that's basically what a Power BI template is, simply for that. And I'd like to, if it's okay, just kick off a poll with you all. Around if you're using a Power BI template or a custom Power BI file, it'd be really good to know, and that should pop up on your screen any second. It'd be really good to know where you all sit with that. If you're not using them, if you're using them but not the theme file, or if you're not actually sure what any of them are, well, you might know a bit now because I just told you what a Power BI template was. Thank you. Seeing a lot of those responses coming in, which is good. Seeing an overwhelming percent actually that people aren't using templates and custom themes, which is great. Thank you so much for coming along. We will be definitely covering that. And if you have questions, please put those into the Q&A, which would be great. Thank you for that. It's a great response. Thank you for filling that out. But yeah, there's a few people there who have used them both. Hopefully you get some insights from this as well about what the Power BI template for Altis gives you. It'd be great. So let's move on now into why would you use a Power BI template. So of course there's the speed of development and the consistency of look and feel. These are the big two, I would say, reasons why you would use a Power BI template. So countless organizations I've worked with, it's often the case. We've got a backlog of reports and we need to keep churning out these reports, but each one is going to take us a couple of weeks to get together. We've got to have design discussions with the team. We've got to get all the data together into one place. And each time you're starting from a blank slate, basically. And as a result, often that can actually affect the consistency of your reports. You might have I mean, I've been working with clients recently where there's over 200 reports that have been published in Power BI, and to try and keep that the same without any kind of templating is very hard work. And your team might be quite large as well. They might be spread across different teams in the organization. You might have a centralized Power BI development team, or you have analysts in finance, HR, marketing that are out there creating their own reports as well. To try and keep that consistency amongst that is a big challenge, and I think it's something that we can really assist with a Power BI template. And then functionally rich as well. I think the use of the out-of-the-box functionality of Power BI can be quite varied between different developers. Some of them are quite comfortable with having hover over tooltip reports and help buttons and all of the great functionality that can come, the interactivity of reports. And then some are actually just sometimes either a table on the page or just one graph that doesn't really impact anything around it, and there's no interactivity. A template can really assist with getting those functionality aspects out of all of your developers. And with that comes best practice as well. Of course, we have training at Altis on data visualization best practice, and we'll talk a bit about that later. But you can actually enforce a lot of those best practice decisions through a template by saying the use of color, the use of certain types of charts, and how you group things together and where things live on the page. All of that best practice standards can actually be assisted through a Power BI template to produce the high quality reports. And it should be mentioned, I'll put it as a subnote at the bottom there, that the Altis Power BI template provides all of these benefits, but you'll see why in a minute as we go through that. I really wanted a good way to try and describe to you what sometimes we see at Altis, and I'm sure you will see in your organization. So what I've done is I've created a faceless team of 3 Power BI developers that we'll now imagine are our Power BI development team at our organization. So we've got Mary, Fred and Joe here, and we'll go through each of them, and I'll show you a bit about how they develop reports and why we might need to use a Power BI template in this scenario. So we've got Mary here, who she has extensive experience with Power BI and has used other reporting tools as well. She has attended training on Power BI best practice. And if we have a look at her report here, we can see, well, it's actually a very, from my professional opinion, I'd say it's a very well-built report that we have here. So we've got a strong title straight up at the top that tells you exactly what the report is. She's been quite clever with using the actual text within the title to define the legend for all of the colors on the report as well. So it's just a clever way of saying that's another best practice tool. Instead of having legends on every chart saying this color is this color is that, you can actually utilize your title to dictate that to your audience as well. And that's just one bit of gold there, but it also tells a great story, this report. I mean, it tells me straight up there's a lot of red at the top there, which means inactive or dormant. So we've got a lot of workspaces, dashboards and reports that aren't being used. But then there's a lot of users that are active. A large percentage of them are actually active on the site. So the ones that are being used quite well. But we can also see there that actually there is a decline in activity. So maybe it's because some of these reports aren't very useful and they're not seeing what they need to. So anyway, we've just told the story pretty easily. We're using a report in Power BI there for Mary. So thank you, Mary. That was great. Let's have a look at what Fred does. So he's got good experience with Power BI, hasn't attended best practice training, so kind of picking it up as he goes along. And let's have a look at his report. And bearing in mind, this is the same organization here. He's gone for more of the, there's a logo in the top left. The title's a bit basic. It just says analysis of what, I don't really know. I guess, well, I can see there's some revenue in there, but how does that tell the story? I'm not sure. But again, credit where it's due. There's a good KPI gauge in there that gives us an understanding. He's got a lot of the date function tools in the left side there, which is, you know, quite groovy, and I'm sure that does great stuff. But again, comparing it with what Mary had, this is the same organization. It's so different and hard to see how the two can talk together. If you had to use both of these reports in your everyday usage as a, you know, just a business user, it could be confusing. We'll move on to Jo. So Jo, I like Jo. She's classic, what I see in so many organizations, new to Power BI, hasn't had any formal training either in Power BI or data visualization best practice, but gives it a go. And this is the report she's built, and I've seen this so many times at organizations where there's just a lot of stuff on the page, no real direction on what I should be reading, what's important, what's not important. I think there's a few classic things. I'm sure you'll see them straight up. The selectors just being stuck in the middle of the page there, and just loads of numbers, and no real direction or story that's overly being told there. So there's our team that have gone out and built some reports for us, which is great, but it's interesting to see the difference in all of them. And actually, we'll kick off our second poll right now, because I'd love to know what reports your organization most resemble. So I'll kick that poll off. Are you more like Mary, Fred, or Jo, or a bit of all three? And already we're starting to see that a lot of you are a mixture of all three. That's expected. That's what I see every time usually. But yeah, there's a lot of Fred as well. I've worked, it's just a bit of insight here. I've worked with a lot of organizations that love the whole logo in the top left, and I've got no problems with that. Sometimes that's great to have that continuity, and I know that business users often screenshot things, put them into PowerPoints, or send them off externally for reports and things like that, and there's a time and a place for that, and that's great. And we see that as well, and that the Power BI template that we have at Altis can incorporate that definitely as well. We've rolled out that with clients in that format, but it's good to see that a large majority of you have a mixture of all three, which is good to see. Yeah, so I think that's why you're here, and it's great to know that I think that Power BI templates are something that will really help you out with what you're doing. And so this leads us to why did Altis bother creating a Power BI template? Well, as I've said, we deal with so many teams like this that have the different designs, different structures of how things are built. We're often hired as an organization because there is a massive backlog that the team just can't get to. So instead of maybe just trying to churn through these, and every time a report's delivered, another two are thought up at the same time. So a lot of this, things take a long time to develop. The inconsistency, we've spoken about the functionality, not using the power of Power BI or the built-in functionality that's there, and they don't conform to the best practice sometimes as well. So that's a good reason for us to come in, and we saw that opportunity to give this this Altis Power BI template as an offering. We actually have a lot of knowledge of the advanced features. We actually have, I don't know if you follow us on LinkedIn, but we often do a monthly update of what's new in Power BI this month. We know that they obviously do the monthly release of Power BI, and there's little things that change all the time, and we're always up to speed with that. And if we see something that's worth incorporating in the template, we definitely do that. We have the data visualization best practice stuff that we've just spoken about with these examples incorporated in there. We've got the guidelines document. I'll talk a bit about that as well, which helps you out with designing what chart types you might need, or what colors should be used where, and what best practices there are for all of that stuff. And then we actually have the Power BI theme file that we've customized already to a certain extent, just to get it ready for putting into your organization, allowing custom color themes. I know a lot of organizations have the marketing style guide. We can deal with that. You give us the hexadecimal numbers or whatever it is for your colors of your organization. That can be plugged straight into the theme file and then you've got that to work with. That's the palette that your team have, and they can use those best practices to use those colors effectively within your charts as well, and things like that. Cool. So that's a lot of talking about what they are, and I sincerely hope you've got some great insights there into what a Power BI template is and why you might need one in your organization. Now, let me take you through an example of a report that the UK team have built around utilizing this Altis Power BI template. And we've just got a nice window into Power BI here just to see the female versus male enrollments in UK higher education. So we've got our title across the top here. This was built with the Altis Power BI template, and it just gives you an idea that it's quite different to some of the structures we saw. So that is up to you on the design aspects, but it's about keeping the consistency across all of your reports. And I'll talk to a few things that are key parts of the Altis Power BI template that would roll out into all of your reports. We have the title here. We've got the legend in the title. We kind of spoke about that, but it straight away knows that, you know, anything blue is going to be female, anything orange is going to be male across all of this report. We've actually got the dynamic title here as well. So this says all years at the top. If you do select one of these years on the right hand side there, that's going to convert it to 2020 to 2021. So you can have those dynamic titles as well. That comes with it, and you just choose the metric to power that. It's often a date anyway, but yeah, that's part of the template as well. I'll go through these tools on the top right section here. So we've looked into a lot of the research around where report users their eyes tend to go for things they need. And we're used to, when you open any application window, right, you've got your minimize, maximize, close in the top right. So a lot of users know to go to the top right for regular buttons that they might click to do certain actions. So we've put these icons in the top right that can assist. We've got one here that says it's using a certified data set. Now, we have this with a lot of clients where there is that self-service aspect that, yes, someone has gone out and built this report themselves and maybe delivered it, even published it to an app or something like that, but it might not be using certified data that's come from our data warehouse with our dimensional model. Maybe it's good to have a certification tag on there so that they know they're using the gold standard data. Goes back to governance, things like that. We've got a link to a data dictionary, which I'll show you in a minute. That's something that comes with the Altis Power BI template as well. But there's a button here that you click and it takes you straight to that, and I'll show you that in a minute once we've gone through these. But there's also a report metadata button. So when you click that, it actually shows you, okay, well, here's the person that built that. This is the date they last refreshed the model behind it all. A lot of users might want to know this information. How up to date is this data? Where does it come from? You might have other information here, like if you've got a data steward, the person to contact regarding any issues you might see with this report or anything like that. That can all be placed into this tool on the right. And if you click off that, it disappears. And the same with the help button in the top right. This is probably the coolest one, I'd say, where you can have all of these speech bubbles around your report just to point them in the right direction of, okay, you don't know quite what is what in this report. Here's a button to click that will be on every report we deliver that will then give you just a few speech bubbles on, this is, you know, this is a 50th percentile mark. This red dot means this. You might want to right click on this graph to drill through. All that kind of stuff you can put into your help. And it's just, again, a window that they can click on, click off there. We've also got this functionality that I should show you there of, sorry, it's not being incredibly responsive, of the hover over tooltip reports. Right, so if I hover over a metric here, we can see it's got a red dot on the right, so it's something that I need to look into. That's another standard that comes with the template. And then it tells us here in this kind of hover over tooltip report that signifies an underlying female decline of 3% in a subject. And of course, these reports will change depending on which subject you hover over. So if I hover over psychology here, I can see, well, it's actually quite a strong enrolled female percentage that we have here, yet it's declining. So I might actually want to right click on here and drill through to a drill through report, which shows me just psychology. And then if I click here, I can see, yeah, others in psychology is one of the big issues. So that's what I need to chase, and I'll go talk to whoever I need to on that and go through that. But again, just the functionality to be able to do that, which is out of the box, again, out of the box Power BI functionality, but it's great to be able to have that within your template. So it's not something you have to keep rebuilding every time or rely on the developer to know how to do it in the first place. So yeah, there's just a few different areas where the Power BI template has actually helped us with generating that particular report. So now, like before your very eyes at the bottom of the screen here, you'll see all of our developers suddenly utilizing this new beautiful Altis Power BI template that we've rolled out and slowly developing these reports. I say slowly, look how fast that was. I said it was speed to development was high, and we can definitely see that here. But yeah, so you can see right now there's conformity there. That's the first thing you'll notice straight up within the different developers, but utilizing the same template. And they've all got the nice title there with the dynamic date in there. If they've got KPIs, they live at the top there. They've got their icons at the top right, which are going to help users, and they've just built into that process. It's important to mention there's creativity still. So they actually have built quite different looking reports, and you can see Fred's still using his wonderful creativity by chucking in a box chart there, or doing various different things. And Mary loves her bars, and she's stuck to the bars there, and using color well to point out different insights and things there. So it's important to understand that users that develop reports can have their creativity, can do what they like to do with the report, but just around the standards of colors and design and functionality within Power BI that can all be wrapped in. And then hopefully you end up with an organization similar to this that's starting to roll out consistent reports that your business users will know exactly where to go to do what in the reports. And it just removes that extra barrier that there might be to adoption of your reports in your organization as well. So I'll pull up the Altis Power BI template. So actually I should show you first of all, when it's delivered, you'll see we've got a few documents here that get delivered. So this is what an Altis Power BI delivery, the template delivery would look like. You'd get your template file, which is obviously designed for your organization. You have the theme file that we mentioned here, which can have all of your defaults around your organization's color schemes, what font you want the text to be, all of that stuff that comes as your default. So whenever they create a title, it's always in the same font, and all that kind of stuff is all in there as well. We ship a date dimension with it. Most organizations, you'll have your own date dimension, but there's one there anyway. Should you need that, it's actually quite well designed. I'll show you that. And then what I mentioned, so you've got the guidance manual here as well. So you'll have at least a document to describe to your team, this is how to use the template, this is how to create a new report, this is where you might want to use this type of graph or this color, or all of that stuff is included in that template manual as well. So let's load up the actual Power BI. So if I was to open that template file, this is exactly what comes up. You have the template. So this is the vanilla basic design that we start with your organization, and we develop from here. But it's got, as we mentioned, dynamic titles there. We've got the use of this is a bit of a storytelling title in the top that tells you the colors of random measure 1 and 2 and how they differ. We've got the hover over tooltip reports there that will show you all of the different, there's obviously nonsense at the moment, but when we roll that out, we obviously get the right data into there, and you've got that ability out of the box. Got all of our different icons across the top. We also do things like cool things like grouping visuals together. So if you've got KPIs that relate to this this graph, you'll see they're actually grouped together. So I don't know if you did want to move it around somewhere, you can move it all as a group like that, and you can keep those together as well should you want to do that. That's another great out of the box functionality that we deliver. I haven't gone through the data dictionary, which I can show you now. So this data dictionary that comes with the Altis Power BI template is the report within Power BI that is powered by, initially we roll it out with an Excel spreadsheet for you to fill out with all your different measures and what they might mean, and you can group that by different departments in your organization or your workspaces, or however you want to organize that data. But it's just a pre-canned report we provide as well, which you can utilize as a data dictionary. You might have data dictionary tools already, but this is just something that we have rolled out to a few different organizations and developed over time as a useful way to be able to search. If you search, you can search for different areas or within different table names to be able to do that. I don't know, let's just have a look at dim course, for example, and that'll tell you some interesting information about some of the fields in there. So we've got all of this functionality as well that comes with that as well. So that's the data dictionary that comes with the Altis Power BI template. So yeah, so that's kind of what it would look like when delivered, and then from there we go to customization station, where we start to really pull apart what design features are key for your organization and how you'd want to use it, but keeping that functionality and structure there as well for your team. So just a quick recap here of what's included. So like we mentioned, you've got that template file that comes with the Power BI template. The data dictionary is delivered as well. It's just a report that we can roll out. There's the supporting files of the theme file, which again, we've heavily customized and we can add to for your organization. The template data set, like we mentioned, there's that date dimension in there and the guidance manual as well. So that's what's included if you were to roll out the Power BI template. So where do we go from here? So there's a few options of what you can do. There's always do nothing, similar to what I did in high school, which is not the greatest idea, but especially seeing most of you haven't actually put Power BI templates into your organization and customized theme files. I would recommend that we do something after this, seeing this webinar presentation today. You can create your own Power BI template, of course, if you have the resource and time to do that within your organization, and you want to take your learnings from this webinar to try and roll out your own template. That's definitely something that you can do within your team, or there is the Altis Power BI template as an accelerator. So that kind of gets you from zero to having something in a very quick time frame. It's just basically a case of deciding on what we would like to customize for your particular organization and then rolling that out as a way to govern, as we said, the speed of development and the consistency of look and feel, which is, of course, one of our summary benefits here. So just recapping that as well. So templates do help you speed up your development. You're just adding data and then basically populating reports and publishing. There's no worry about functionality and changing things every time. It gives you that consistency across your team, like wonderful examples down here. They have the functionality out of the box for all of your reports to include those. We can force best practice onto the development and delivery of reports. And of course, it goes without saying that produces a high quality result for your team. So hopefully that's detailed out quite a lot on what the Altis Power BI template is, what a Power BI template is, why you would use a Power BI template. And I'll leave this slide just up on the screen. This is just on the right, you can see all the ways that you can contact us at Altis if you'd like us to assist you in this process of creating a template for your organization's Power BI deliverables. As it says in the slide, you can give us a call or email us at these contacts, and there's also all our socials there if you want to keep up to speed with what Altis is doing. Should mention that we do have the exclusive webinar offer, so you can save 20% on the data visualization course with Altis by entering that code webinar20 on checkout. But please feel free to reach out to our teams and say, hey, I attended the webinar and the Power BI templates, and we'll happily work with you on that as well. We can do a more in-depth technical demonstration, maybe use some of your organization's data to create something that is specific for you. And of course, with all of that, we do the deliverables around modern data platforms and training and everything like that. So thanks very much for listening. I'll happily jump into the Q&A section. If anyone has any questions, please feel free to ask those. and I'll happily answer those for you now. There's a question here about the cost of the template. So that's a question like how long is a piece of string a bit, because it's the cost of the template is basically based on how you want to implement it. We can just sell the template to you to implement, and you can speak to our sales team about that if that is your approach, if you have the team ready to go there. What we recommend more is that there is that short consultancy period of taking down the design considerations from your organization and implementing that for you, so that we don't just deliver a template and then leave it with you to fail or succeed, that we actually do help you out there with a consultancy process to implement. And it's not long. We're max 2 weeks to work that out for you and to at least roll something out that your team can use, and get you involved in training if that's required as well for the team. That goes along with the template as well, and how to use that. We've got a good question here about how do you handle the data model aspect. So basically, when you're loading up the Power BI template, as I mentioned, it creates that PBIX file for you to work with. You can either, if you want to save in your template, you can actually import your data model. So you go to the get data, pull in your data, whether it's from a database or from files or whatever it is. You can import that into the actual template, and then save that as a template, including the metadata of your data model. Or if it's not part of the template, the you can, with any data that any Power BI dashboard you're going to deliver from the template, you load it up, then you do the get data yourself, pull in the data, and you can actually either replace the existing visuals. If you've got a pretty good standard of what visuals you want on the screen where, you can actually just drag those new fields in and overwrite what's there already. It's important to have something there so they can overwrite those existing visuals, or they might actually want to just clear out a couple of the visuals and start again with that approach, much similar to like our examples with Mary, Fred and Joe that they'd done. They put different visuals in different places. Also, a good point that we do actually have a Power BI course coming up on May 24th. So feel free to reach out to our socials or our website on that. You can sign up for that training course as well. Thank you. Just getting a bit of a nudge from the team here at Altis on that one. So that's good. And yeah, very good question here just come in. Can you apply the template to existing reports? That's a very good question, and it's a bit of an interesting one, because you kind of want to start afresh with these things to make sure you set a standard for delivering reports. But it is often the case, and we deal with clients where they've already got, like I said, maybe even 200 reports that are out there. It's a bit of a manual process to copy across to the old ones, but what we've found so often with organizations is that it's more for speeding up development of new work and keeping that consistency. And usually if it's already out there with the client, with your report customers, the business users, they're probably already using it. And if they're not happy with it, spend the time to refactor it. But if not, then it's future development is with the template as well. So thank you for that. I'll just clear that one off. So where do you place report parameters or filters in the template? So that's the same as if you're building them in a normal PBIX. We can probably show you that in a bit of detail another time, but you would it's exactly the same. So you build up a report as you would do normally in Power BI, but you just save it as a template file. But we would work through that all with you at the start anyway. With the Power BI template process is to import all of those parameters and filters into your template, and then when you save it as a template file, then it will save all of that metadata with it on that. Hopefully that answers that question around that, but it is the same as doing it with any other report. Another question come in here, which is, do we have templates that are agnostic to reporting tools? that has Power BI and Tableau. Well, we're here talking about the Power BI one, and that's what we have at the moment with Altis. We actually haven't developed a standard Tableau format yet that we've published on. I think that's probably definitely coming in the future. I imagine most of you on this call are using Power BI, with it being a Power BI template call, sorry, the webinar itself. So yeah, we definitely offer that for Power BI at the moment. Tableau's a bit of a different beast, but we do obviously do a lot of consulting with that as well. And should the need arise, we might do that for Power BI as well. So hopefully that answers your question there. Cool, that's all of the questions that I think have come up. So hopefully that's answered all your questions. I think we're doing pretty good for time. If anyone does have any more questions, feel free to throw them in there. But other than that, thank you so much for attending today's webinar. I really do hope that you got something out of it for yourself moving forward and for your organization with your Power BI development. And I stress again, all of these contact details on the screen at the moment. Please feel free to reach out to Altis. We do have a great team together that can help you out, and we can maybe do a technical demonstration for you before we engage any kind of consulting operation. We can definitely spend some time working with you on that as well and see what's right for your organization as well. So thank you again so much for attending today, and thank you, and hopefully we'll hear from you soon. Thanks all.